Hi, this is Ed Schwenk. I'm here with George Lucas. How are you, George?
Good, Ed. Good, Ed.
Your
How are you?
company, tell us about your company, Gannon and Scott.
Gannon and Scott, as you know, is a precious metal processing company. Celebrated 102nd anniversary this year, so been around since 1919. But
Long
really
time.
processes any material containing precious metals for the most part. Strictly recovery.
Strictly
basis.
on a recovery basis.
Yep.
What type of industries do you serve?
Which ones don't we serve? Big difference. A lot of our customer base manufacturers.
Right.
So a lot of companies that manufacture material containing precious metal, semiconductor companies, jewelry companies, ring companies. We also do a lot of business with collectors, as you would think of collectors. So we're at an auto catalyst part of the convention. So a lot
Right.
of people that buy and
Right.
process automotive catalyst, e-scrap collectors and processors. So we'd be one of those almost final tiers of recovery.
So you're handling all of the precious metals, gold, silver, platinum group,
Yes.
all of those.
Yeah, gold, silver, platinum, palladium, rhodium, and hopefully soon to be ruthenium and iridium. We're working on those.
Yeah, yeah. I see that this industry is varied industry. The collector market. We happen to be at the IPMI Auto Catalyst Seminar in Orlando, and the focus here is for catalytic converter recyclers primarily, and also the technology side for assaying and sampling, and processing, milling, and homogenizing those types of material. I can imagine that you have at Gannon and Scott those types of processes in your plant for handling varied types of flow or scrap that's coming in
Yeah, we do.
feedstock.
Yeah, we do. We've got, if you look at capabilities and processes, so the first one, call it medium to high grade materials, we melt. So we've got a very good melting facility because we're going to...
Does that include induction melting as well?
Well, the type of furnaces that we have are induction furnaces. So magnetic current is what actually, and it's a nice. So you talk about homogenizing and making a nice sample. I mean, you don't,
Because it mixes.
you can't get a better sample than using an induction furnace.
I agree.
Secondly, would be thermal reduction or incineration. So a lot of capacity with thermal reduction, and then third would be our solutions department. So sampling and paying out on different types of precious metal containing solutions, wastes.
Oh, so that implies that you're handling toxic materials. You have a TSD?
We handle hazardous materials.
Hazardous materials.
Different than hazardous waste.
That's true. That's true. These are recyclable that have value.
Yeah, and typically it's always a waste stream. So if we're dealing with say a jewelry company or a semiconductor company that's doing plating or any of that kind of, so once they plate out the metals and they get the majority, we'll get the waste acid or the cyanide solution, and we'll recover the balance of what's left in those solutions.
So, say a jewelry manufacturer is casting jewelry, grinding, polishing, collecting up those polishings. They probably have carpet and filter dust that would be collected and sent in for processing occasionally.
They do, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot of our business. Actually, some funny stories. One just recently, but a lot of these, especially in New England, a lot of these jewelry companies that have been around for 100 years, 150 years, they've been in the same building. They close, they move, they do something different. But we've processed hardwood flooring, desks. So as a jewelry company, say it's 150 years old, we've run, again, the flooring, the cement blocks, the desks, all the physical components that were in that old mill building.
Interesting.
We've processed for a significant precious metal recovery.
Wow.
Figure all that polishing dust, all the, if they were dealing with any type of solution, the solution leaks in the floor.
It gets absorbed, sure.
Yeah, so over the years, it's produced massive amounts of gold and silver.
So where are your headquarters located?
Headquarters are in Cranston, Rhode Island, and our second facility is in Phoenix, Arizona. Duplicate capabilities in both locations. Just the lab for both is in Rhode Island, in the Rhode Island location.
Oh, tell me a little bit about the lab. What is that equipped with?
It's a full lab, fire assay, ICP. We actually got 2 ICPs one for base metals and one for precious and PGMs. We have full capability. We've got an XRF. We'll do a few just for preliminaries and for rough, but everything we'll do is with that, fire assay and ICP.
You have any interesting stories that you could share that
From the lab?
Yeah, or from operations or customer service? Anything that kind of strikes you that might be?
I mean, other than the one that just pops in my head, we took from the sales side, we always talk about companies, you got rates and terms or contracts, and a lot of the negotiations that we get involved in, like you and I talked about just a little while ago, a first response that says, you guys are too expensive, your rates are too high. The thing I like about Gannon and Scott is that everything is transparent. So when we give rates and terms, they're very clear, they're very transparent, the settlement time is spelled out, the market price is spelled out. So a funny story would be, a customer comes back and says, you guys aren't going to get the business because your rates and terms are too high. When you poke and you try to get to the reasons why, an example that I just gave you, settlement time not being clear and transparent.
Right.
But with rhodium where it is today, one of the biggest things we're seeing is when we pay out, and our market price is spot. So whatever the bid shows on Kitco or any of the other platforms, that's about what we're paying out on rhodium. And a lot of our competitors will put down less applicable discount, spot less applicable discount. And when the customers push back and
what
push
does
back,
that mean?
In the last couple of cases that we talked about, the discount was between 7 and 10%.
Okay.
So if rhodium,
undefined, basically.
So if rhodium's at 26,000 and our competitor's taking a 10% discount,
Yeah.
do our rates still look
Yeah.
expensive at the end of the day?
Well, we talked a little bit about some companies that are processing bulk materials are basically shredding and taking a stream sample, maybe 5%,
5%, 10%,
of the material,
sometimes 10.
and they're actually paying on assay on that 5% stream sample. So they're not really burning and milling and melting 100% of the material. They're only handling 95% less.
Right. So another example of when you always use the phrase, your rates are too high. So if we're charging X per pound and we're processing 100% of the material, and a competitor is charging less per pound, but they're only processing 5%. So a great example I've got in one of my presentations is where we charge $2.50 a pound for this particular material to process 100%. And when you compared it to the customers, I think they were I want to say it was $1.50 a pound. It was significantly less. But when you do the math and say, well, $1.50 a pound times 5% of the weight. So I said we were in a meeting like this, I said, so you're really paying $30 a pound to have your material processed? And it was like, what do you mean? And I did the math, and I said, well, they're running 5% of your material. Right. They're charging $1.50 compared to us running 100%. Very clear. We're $2.50 a pound. And then you get into what we do and how we process that. And there are some streams where you can get away with a 5% sample or a 10% sample. Material you run all the time, shred that every time, it's the same boards. You've run 40,000 pounds at a time, 20,000 pounds at a time. You know it's going to be within this range. If the 5% sample comes in where you think it's going to come in, then that's fine. You save on fees. But when you get into the higher grade material and the things that are harder to process and things you really should process 100%, you've got to pay to have that
that's
material.
What I've always liked about that service that Gannon and Scott provides, because if you have an item that needs to be run 100% so that you know what the yield is, say you get shipped in 1,000 gallons of cyanide plating solution, you need to run it all, recover all that precious metal that's in there for a payout. And the fact is, you can't put that down the drain. It has to be treated. Right?
It does.
100% of it has to be treated.
And that's another. I mean, it's a great point to bring up too, because not a lot of companies talk about that part of the business, about the environment and about protecting. But the one thing that we tell everybody that we work with, prospects, customers, the only thing that leaves Gannon and Scott's facility is ingot and a prepared sweep.
Right.
We even burn our own trash. I mean, everything gets burned and handled.
Gets processed.
Yep. All the solutions all get precipitated, controlled, in an environmentally sound way with the system.
Well, you're right in the middle of the jewelry manufacturing center of the Northeast.
We are.
You get a lot of that
Well, it used to be.
high-grade
It
gold.
used to be.
Right. What used to be is not what it is today. That's true. Are you seeing much of anything from Alaskan mines or any of the Western mines? You see much of that at all?
No.
That's not your slice of the
That's
business.
not our cup of tea. Believe it or not, I mean, I joke, but there's still a lot of really good jewelry companies, precious metal, higher grade jewelry companies left in,
Manufacturers.
left in that area. I mean, you still got. I think it's great. Tiffany is still producing all of their product domestically.
Great brand.
Great brand, great people to work with. You've got a lot of call them mom and pop jewelry shops that have really thrived in this environment where they're making, not semi-precious, precious metal jewelry. Very, very nice stuff, and they're excelling in this market. Even one of my best friends owns a jewelry company in Rhode Island. They've been around, I think they're on third generation, and COVID could have knocked them right out of the park, but they adapted. They went online,
Right.
and their business actually increased. And instead of going to the mom and pop jewelry shops that they went to and some of the big box houses, they ended up shipping direct and taking orders online, and they couldn't keep up. It was
They
terrific.
persevered and they came out on top.
They did. So now
That's
everybody's coming back. The mom and pops are
fantastic.
starting to order again, and they did well.
So, if somebody needs your services at Gannon and Scott, how would they get a hold of you?
Best way, without taking a lot of notes, would be just to go to gannonscott.com, and my information's there. The sales team's there. All the numbers are
So
there.
it's Gannon.
Gannon-Scott. Yep.
Great.
.com. Yep.
Wonderful. George, it's good to see you again.
You too,
It's been a
Ed.
while since I've seen you. And, I hope that you stick around for the next couple days of the seminar.
We will.
Yeah.
Look forward to speaking again.
All right. Thanks,
All
George.
right. Thank you.